Hello there, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I know that you're going to get a lot of value out of this episode because I have invited a great guest. I'm Flora Brown from Your Life Story Matters, and joining me today is Arejay. She's from The Essence of Expression, a podcast, and you can find her also, of course, on Substack. So we're going to jump in right away so that you can get all of the good meat on her podcast. What does she do? She shares things to ponder about this crazy, amazing thing called life. And we certainly have a lot of crazy, amazing things going on right now, from spirituality to cooking hacks to healing to new developments in tech and a bunch of other topics she hasn't even considered yet. She considers this a beautiful experiment in expression and invites us to take this journey together. And I'm so happy that she did because when I discovered her and started reading what she's written and also listening to her podcast, I thought, okay, this is somebody I need to know and to introduce to my audience. RJ is a spiritual guide, an intuitive coach, an energy healer, and the founder of the Essence of Expression. She guides healers, space holders, and wisdom keepers to live and work in alignment with their energy and reconnect with their truth so they can live with greater clarity, authenticity, and joy. Now, how did this episode come about? I was over on her, I guess I was on the podcast, and I was listening to different episodes. And when I hit this episode that said it was going to discuss 3 barriers to joy and then tell us how we can get through those barriers, I thought, okay, this is great. We need to know this. But I noticed it was 2023 when she posted that episode. So I thought, hmm, I wonder how this episode would be different if she had posted it or created it in 2026. How would her advice and her suggestions be different? So that's what I'm asking her to do today is talk about the barriers to our joy and also give us tips on how we can get past those barriers and give us at least 3 tips on how we can cultivate joy in our present situation, our present lives. So welcome, RJ.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm so excited to have this conversation. Glad you reached out. So barriers to joy. The original 3 were worry, specifically other people's opinions. And the second one was fear. And it's really the fear that, like, of the other shoe dropping, right? Like, if I allow myself to feel this joy, is it going to be snatched away?
Okay.
Right. And the third original one was using the wrong roadmap, which is whenever we're trying to bring joy, we kind of look around externally and see someone who seems like maybe they're enjoying their life, whether that's an accurate assessment or not. We don't know because we're not in it, right? And then trying to recreate it using the way that they got there.
Okay.
And I think for a lot of these, they still hold true now. I think I'm happy to say that, like, worry and fear of other people's opinions is kind of like falling away. It's still there, it's still present, but I'm seeing a lot more people be less concerned with it or be willing to look silly or crazy or whatever the other people may have in their mind, which is really none of our business, to be honest. Like, what other people think of you is none of your business unless they open their mouth and tell you and make it your business. Otherwise,
that's right.
And this is especially geared, like when I did the original episode, it was especially geared toward women and their barriers to joy because it looks a little bit different with society. And I think today worry is still there. Like I said, the other people's opinion is kind of falling away. What's coming up a lot lately in the circles that I've been sitting in and the people I've been seeing has been this concern around money, right? Yeah. Because, like, heart and expansion says one thing, and then you look at the money and, like, our human kicks in, and we get a little bit fearful, and we start to go back to, like, oh, I have to do the logical sensible thing. You don't. That's just what we were trained to think. Honestly, that crazy thing is probably going to get you so much further. Case in point, us doing this live.
Yes.
Like,
And
logic would have been like, learn it, figure it out first. We were like, that sounds amazing. Let's do it.
let's do it. Even though Flora does not know how to change her background orientation on the spot. Okay, so what? I think one of the things with worry is when you were talking about it is we have to get comfortable with discomfort. I never thought about that. Of course, decades and decades ago, we didn't know that. We thought we had to be perfect. Everything had to be all worked out before we got on stage, quote unquote, on stage or presented ourselves to the public. No, no more. You're going to be just uncomfortable when you get ready to make any kind of progress, any forward movement. You get ready to do something new, you're going to be uncomfortable because you don't know how to do it. So you have to jump in the water, so to speak. So I love that
Exactly.
approach. So go ahead with the moving from worry to
So,
what happens to
yeah,
fear.
so fear, which is waiting for the other shoe to drop. And I think a lot of people are starting to learn that the other shoe dropping, if it does drop, is not an end all be all. Like, it's not, it may feel devastating in the moment, but it doesn't like obliterate your life. And even if it does obliterate your life, normally it gets replaced by something so much better that you couldn't even imagine before.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh. Now, in the moment, you might be like, why did I do that? What is happening?
What was I thinking?
But when you understand that, like, life is cyclical and there's a rhythm and a pulse, there's an up and a down, like, it's going to come. And it's just a matter of, are you going to block your joy and blessings now so that it doesn't feel so crappy when the shoe does drop?
Yeah. One of the things that came to my mind when you were saying that is so many times we interpret things immediately as a problem. And I think about detours, physical detours and life detours. And I can think of some in my life where when I made a detour, I thought, oh man, the road's closed. I got to go a different way. And because of that detour, I discovered something that became a fantastic addition to my life that I wouldn't have seen otherwise. And I think that happens probably, in physical form and also happens, in our experiences in our minds.
Yes, it does. I think one of the I don't remember who or where I saw it, but something that stuck with me is like when life changes and goes the way you weren't expecting, just yell plot twist and move on.
That's
Like,
right. Plot twist. Well, there's also that saying that rejection could be protection.
yes.
Because there are times when something happens, like you didn't get the job you applied for, and you don't realize till later that perhaps that was really a great thing that you didn't get that job. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. And I think I actually have an episode that on the podcast, and I believe it's called That Block Might Be a Blessing. That talks about that.
Yeah.
And I think the third thing is the wrong roadmap. And people are still using this one left and right. Happily, there are people who are exiting this in mass right now because they're starting to move into away from that prescribed path, right? So we were very used to success looks like this. Like you go to school, you get a good job, you have the kids, get married, whatever, but it was very, here's the step by step, and we could try to race along it, right? Because we know what all the steps are.
Yeah.
But success and happiness according to who? Because a lot of people got there and hit this wall and was like, I did all the things. I'm here. How did I get here? I hate it here. What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And you didn't do anything wrong. You just followed the wrong roadmap, right? You took the maps and directions from someone else to a place that you may not even view success as the same thing, right? Like for me, if I'm like, oh, my great place is, I don't know, I really like Portland, Oregon, right? And let's say you really like, I don't know, you really like Miami, Florida. And we're like, both of us are like, we're going to the best place ever. Okay, well, what's the place you like? Throw it out if you know it.
Right. Well, I think a lot of that comes from our upbringing. We tend to, most of us, accept whatever we were handed, either by our parents, our teachers, our friends, whatever we were handed. And I don't know at which point in life, there have always been people who thought outside the box and followed their own minds, but more and more we're doing that. And but it was not common back in the day. If you were not following that, whatever that prescription, that roadmap was,
Absolutely.
then you were considered that you something was wrong with you, or you're doomed for failure. And I'm so
Right.
happy we're not at that same point right now.
Well, I think a lot of it is that like there were so many people doing all of these things, but everyone was looking around going, but the world does not look better, right? Right? Like this clearly is not working.
Not working.
And so more and more people get to follow their hearts. And I think you also had more leaders step up that lead in a way where, for me, and I still am recoding this concept in my mind, because leadership always used to look like the person from the front kind of giving marching orders, right?
Right.
And now turning into something that is more the leader, it's more role model based. So I am being, and this is the direction that I am heading. If you would like to come along, you are welcome.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also those leaders that are asking deeper questions. And so they're evoking in the people that they're leading to find their own way. And they're just helping guide them along as they find their own way. So it's not a do it my way, follow me. It's okay, well, here's what I did. Yes. And sometimes you can use that. But what does that look like for you? What does it feel like for you? How do you move in that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think when you're talking about a leader, if the leader is of a company or a country or a family, and you have members of that group, a great leader is someone who invites you to contribute ideas to make it work, because there's no way one person can have all the ideas, and each person has different needs and desires and talents. So I think a great leader is one that includes the, not that you can take everyone's opinion and implement them, but when you ask for them and then you encourage them to share those ideas, everyone benefits, because now we hear other ways of doing it. And somewhere in that mix, we can agree on what things we're going to do as a group. And we're going to be also comfortable in doing the things we need to do as individuals, I think.
I think that's a beautiful perspective. Yes. So true. So true. I love that. I think, and that actually like leads me into one of the tips, right? Because I think there's this concept when people think of joy most of the time, they think of it as this feeling and it's something that happens. They don't think of it as something that like you can curate. You can build rules around it. You can have it show up, right? And create that space for it intentionally. It doesn't just happen. You can live it daily and have it be there.
Yeah.
And one of those things is to do something you love regularly, right? Like bonus points if you can do it daily. So I like to dance. And instead of my normal routine of like, hit the alarm clock, like go run to the shower, brush your teeth, start getting ready for your day, I actually started setting my alarm like 5 minutes earlier. And so my day starts, the alarm goes off, and we find a song to dance to. And I just start my day off and dance because that makes me happy.
Oh, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm putting your tips in the chat, by the way, so people can see them. So first, do what you love daily or frequently, whatever it might be. And one of the things I can offer to warn you is that when you're doing what you love, there will be people that will say, why are you doing that? Or, they'll question it because they're uncomfortable with you doing what you want to do. And they may even put you down. Of course, I hope by this point you don't have any friends in those categories that put down what you're doing. But in case you do, just be prepared. People will think you're, weird if you're, dancing around your house and you choose to, or dancing in the park, or wearing something that you love and they don't think it looks great on you. So you have to get past that. So first tip, do what you love.
Absolutely. Let people think you're weird. It's totally fine.
That's right.
I swim in a tail. I like to mermaid. At 5 years old, I always wanted to be a mermaid. They told me I couldn't. And at 29, I became a mermaid. So you can. You just got to be willing to get side-eyed and everything else. But
Right.
and I think, another key to joy, at least for me, has been gratitude.
Okay.
And for me, that's not just like a lip service thank you for. I like to, there's a practice I was introduced to called growing gratitude. And basically, you come up initially with 3 things that you're grateful for in the moment that you're doing it. And then once you list those 3 things that you're grateful for, like, you also say why, right? And then you latch onto one of the whys. And now, why are you grateful for that why? And you keep going. And it started off as like a 5-minute practice. And if I have time, sometimes I just let myself go until I just feel complete. But literally sitting in that frequency and understanding what it feels like. So the difference between like thank you and gratitude is like I can say thank you and there's no real feeling behind it, but allowing that either that happiness or that fulfillment or that success, whatever it is that that feeling is tied to, like letting that come out in whatever it is that you're thankful for and why and what it means to you, and let yourself really feel that and spend time in that.
When you say things you're grateful for, I think we have to honor the little things that we're grateful for, because it's so easy to take things for granted, and you really appreciate having them in your life. But I think it's important to voice that either in writing. I write in a gratitude journal every morning, and I list 5 things I'm grateful for. And some of them are repeats, but some of them are little things like an overcast day. Most people think, well, sunshine is the best thing, and da 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 da. Some days I think, wow, I'm really appreciative to have an overcast day, because there's a different mood with it. But yes, very important to express gratitude, whether you do it in a journal or you do it verbally, you just think it, whatever. I think it's important to express gratitude. So
It
right.
is. And I love that you brought up the small things, because sometimes even just being like grateful, like I have both my hands, right? And if you have a hard time connecting to the feeling of gratitude with the small things, because I know sometimes our brain can be like, that's a ridiculous thing to be grateful for. Like, really give yourself a minute to think of like, what would be different if you didn't have that? Right? Because you'll be like, oh my gosh, like I wouldn't be able to do this, or I wouldn't be able to go here, or like this would be a struggle, and it's so easy. And then you can get yourself back into like, oh, but I do have that, and then sink into that gratitude feeling. But sometimes it is just, my body parts work. Like, they're attached and they work.
Let me tell you, that is huge, because we all have friends, relatives, people we know who have all kinds of different issues. And we take for granted all of those things that work in our bodies, then we get upset with the things that don't work. But sometimes even having a problem is something to be grateful for after the fact, when you discover that that problem led you to a solution that, well, it led you to information perhaps you wouldn't have even known about. It's like a pain in the body or something. And when you get it checked out, you discover it's a warning of something else coming up, and you can catch it before it gets to the critical point. So even pain and problems things we label as problems, can be very helpful, and be grateful for them later on when we get that perspective.
Absolutely. And I think, that leads me to my next tip, is asking better questions, right? Like, can we frame things better? So, for example, you were just speaking of with the problems and like, hey, okay, I have this pain or whatever, and it leads to me getting something diagnosed or finding out something that I didn't know, right? I think it's very easy. Like, a lot of people want to default to the question of why is this, right? Because they have the perspective of, oh, this is happening to me. I don't have that perspective. Like, do I slip back into it sometimes? Yes, because I'm human. But for the most part, like, I live in, oh, like, this is happening for me, right? And so it doesn't matter if it's something I would traditionally label as good or traditionally label as bad, but it's happening for me. So if it's showing up, it's for me. It's to grow me. It's to help me. It's somehow supporting me, even if I can't understand it, how it's doing that yet. And so then the question becomes like, what is this showing me? What is this teaching me? Right? It's never like, why is this happening to me? Oh, okay, what is this trying to show me?
Yeah.
What is this trying to get my attention and bring it toward? And when you begin to ask those types of questions, because whatever questions you ask your brains are amazing. It's going to go find an answer to it. And it's probably going to go find a lot of stuff and a lot of support for it.
Yes.
So if we can get ourselves in the habit of asking questions that are supportive and helpful, we're going to get information back that's more supportive and helpful, as opposed to, oh, why? Because why may not even be relevant, right? Like,
yeah, I've done that. I've asked, what is it I'm supposed to learn from this experience? Because they're lessons. I have a belief that everything that happens has either a blessing or a lesson. And I apply that to so many aspects of my life. And, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever. And when we ask those questions, we can get answers, and it helps us to not frame whatever's going on in a, black or white way, evil bad or evil good type thing. We can
right.
turn it in a way that is beneficial to us.
Yes. And when everything, like, when you have more and more beneficial things in your life, like, you just have more joy, right? Like, it's more beneficial, and you're choosing to see that it's beneficial to you. And sometimes I have to release and be like, okay, like, I don't understand how right now, but it is, and I'm trusting that it is beneficial and it's here to help and support. And in time, I will understand, like, it will unfold and I will understand.
Yeah.
And I think in this day and age, we have to get comfortable again with the unfolding paths, because so many of us were taken away from that. And that path is a rhythmic path. There's a pause and a go, and learning to listen between those two states, as opposed to just like, the hustle culture that most of us are used to, at least in the US, was like, go, 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 go all the time on. Like, no, we're nature. We're natural creatures. If you look anywhere in nature, you don't see anything that's on all the time. Even the sun goes away for a minute. Like, the sun's got to rest too.
Well, yeah, you gave some great information there, because we're just too many things we think are just, you have two aspects, and there's so many dimensions within everything that happens. And I can sense nobody's asked this question, but I know they're thinking. And thank you, by the way, all of you who've joined us. So exciting. I see some familiar names. And I know that they're thinking, okay, Flora and Arejay, there's a lot of craziness going on right now. You mean to tell me that you want us to ignore the craziness and just go skipping through the meadows? Is that what you're saying? Tell us, Arejay, is that what you're saying?
So it's not about ignoring the craziness at all by any means. Part of it is realizing that we're connected, right? So sometimes it can seem really selfish in times like this, when you look around and you see a lot of stuff going in directions other than probably what most of us would have liked, would have hoped, and it hurts your heart. To realize that everything that you do for yourself also impacts and elevates the collective, right? So I'm not saying ignore it, right? If you are called to something and you have an avenue to impact it and affect it, and that's what you want to do, absolutely, like, go for that. If you feel maybe further removed and you don't know how to help it, like, the first place you can start is make your immediate, like, so you first, right? And then expand as far as you can, better in whatever way that you can do so, right? And understanding that we are all called differently. So sometimes people will see, like, oh, these people are people on the front lines and they're sacrificing a lot, and they may think that the person who is maybe more on the quieter front, and maybe they are collecting food or donations, they're not on the front line, they're not as visible with it, they're still serving the same purpose, right? Like, the roles are not greater here or there. They've been strategically positioned to play the role that they are meant to play. And when you can understand that, like, okay, this is not this is not the dream and vision I have for the world. What is that dream and vision, and how much of that dream and vision can you start to implement and embody and bring to the world daily? Because even just a little bit helps.
Yeah. Yeah. Even, when you talk about a little bit, I immediately think of someone smiling at you in the store, someone greeting you warmly in the store, or um, a clerk in the store seeing you up and down the aisles lost and going, "Could I help you find something?" Very little, those little things make such a big difference to bring us little tiny pieces of joy, and we should not discount them. And the other thing I have to bring up, because I'm a writer and a life story coach, is the importance of writing these things down. And I think of Anne Frank when she and her family were hiding out during that Nazi Germany period. She said that she had to write about it because otherwise she would just explode. And she aspired to be a writer, I believe, but she probably had no idea, of course, what her writing was, where it was going to go. And of course, she did not survive the Holocaust, but her writing did. And her writing has made a huge difference in our world, sharing what she was feeling, what was going on with her. So it's important that we write. Our writing may never reach the world after we're gone, but it helps us first because we release it, but also perhaps it'll help our children, our relatives, and others who get to read it later. Those moments of encouragement, those little things, they're very important.
Yes. I played for 5 minutes. I was just waving and saying hi. I was in the grocery store and there was a small child and she was happily screaming until the adult she was with was like, shh, like you're too loud. So then it became this quiet screams of joy. Like she was joyful. It was all joy. She wasn't throwing a tantrum or anything. And so it was quiet and she looked over and she waved. So I waved back and said hi. And then the woman was still like shopping. So every time she turned the cart, once the girl disappeared, if I came back into view again, she was like, hi. And I was like, hi. Because, she's like, what, 4 maybe? I'm not going to not say hi and wave back to a 4-year-old. Like, are you serious? We're going to be doing this for as long as you can see me, I guess, because this is just what you want to do.
That is so important. And that's why I keep mentioning the little things, because the little things are the things that will make a difference in the end. And as a matter of fact, when you're writing your life story, we tend to think we want to talk about the big accomplishments, when you got this great job or you bought the house or whatever. But it's all those little episodes along the way that led to those things that really will matter, I think, later on.
It is. It's what unlocks it for other people, right? Because if you just write the big thing and like the celebration, it's like great. I can see that and celebrate with you. I can be happy for you. I don't know how to get any closer to that for myself.
Well, what's going to help you is I think what will help you the most is not to hear that I completed my degree after 4 years. What will help you most is all of the little things along the way that led to that, and the struggles and the ups and downs and how I navigated those things. Those are the things I think will matter the most.
Exactly. And I think that's also why we're seeing that leadership shift that we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think you're starting to see more behind the scenes stuff, because that's the stuff where it's like juicy and it's more helpful than just like the shiny finished product version. Hi.
Yeah, it's like seeing those rehearsals, huh? The early rehearsals, the dress rehearsals before the production. That's what you want to see. And by the way, if anyone has questions, go ahead and ask them, because we're a few minutes away from closing this episode. And while you have Arejay's attention, she may be able to answer your question. Any questions in there? I just see some wonderful things in here, Arejay, by the way. After I warned, here come the tips. I posted them so people could see them. And Kim Kramer says, such a beautiful perspective, how you're approaching the gratitude. And a number of other people have joined. Thank you all for joining. Do you have any closing words, Arejay? I don't see any questions there.
I think just be willing to be weird for a little bit. And if you can do something and it would make your 80-year-old self happy, or your 5-year-old self happy, and it's not bringing harm to anyone, do it. Do it.
So if someone says to me, wow, you used to be so serious and now you're weird and you just sort then that's a good thing.
Like I said, it's fine. We think, we have this perspective of ourselves, and so we as humans make ourselves simultaneously less important and more important than we actually are, right? Like, and we focus. Most people are not focused on you as much as you think they are. First off, so when you give yourself permission to be weird, you just do the thing, and half the time people don't even pay attention or notice the way you built it up in your head.
Barbara from Project Ken says, "Let the weird flow."
Yes, Barbara. Yes,
we're going to take that and do that in our lives. Thank you so much for joining me today, for making time. I know that you have a busy schedule. I encourage all of you who are joining today to listen to her podcast, The Essence of Expression, and her other publications on Substack, because you will be informed and you'll be uplifted. She gives it the healing spiritual approach, and that's what we all need for sure. So thank you. And I
thank you
look
so
forward
much.
to having you again and to talking to you off camera so I can find out lots more about what's going on, because I'm really excited. And Barbara says the creativity is hidden in the crevices.
Ooh, I like that. Barbara, are you gonna make that a note for Substack if you haven't already? Please do.
Right. That definitely put that as a note. I'm sure she will, because she's very active over there. Well, thank you all for being here. We appreciate it and look forward to some more lives from me now that I've gotten my feet wet, and I'm going to figure out how to create the correct orientation of my background next time. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.